Jansen. That is into center field. Here comes Kiermaier. Phillips has tied the game. Arose Arena coming around. Throw home. Now he stumbles. But the ball gets away. Tampa Bay wins it.
Hey there, Coach Riz here, and today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to break down the last at-bat from the game last night, Game 4 of the World Series, and the crazy ending between the Dodgers and the Rays, and go over all the good, the bad, and the ugly, going through pitch by pitch to describe how the approach at the plate and from the mound changes, as well as the actual play itself that led to the Rays pulling out the miraculous victory. The first thing to keep in mind is that Phillips hasn't had an at-bat in over a month. He was left off the ALCS roster and was added when they went to the World Series. So essentially he was cut from the team and then put back on the team for the World Series. The lesson to you young players out there is that you never know when you're going to get a shot, so make sure that you're prepared both mentally and physically. So here we start the at-bat with 2 outs, runners on first and second, with ball 1, which is an inside cut fastball just off the corner. The red box is my guess to how Phillips' approach at the plate might change. Since he's ahead in the count, he can now focus on hitting the pitch types and locations that he hits well and take everything else. The second pitch of the at-bat is another cut fastball that appears to be just off the corner but is called strike 1 by the umpire. By evening up the count, Phillips's approach at the plate will be to widen that red area a bit. Notice how with only 1 strike, though, the approach is typically to lay off those pitches that are right on the corner. The third pitch of the at-bat is a 4-seam fastball that's off the outside corner of the plate but is called strike 2 by the umpire. I wouldn't go so far as to say that this is a bad call, but it's obviously one that as a hitter you don't want to go against you since it puts you in the hole with 1 ball and 2 strike count. I can't stress enough how important it is for young players to learn to deal with having calls not go your way. Although it's upsetting, you need to be able to flush it and move on to the next pitch if you're going to have any success at higher levels. Now with the count 1-2, Phillips is forced to change his approach to go to protect, which means that his red hitting box is now larger than the actual strike zone since he needs to protect those close pitches on the corners. He easily could have been sitting with a 2-1 or 3-0 count. Then his approach would have been entirely different as he could have focused in on the 1 pitch in 1 spot that he hits the best. But with the count 1 balls and 2 strike, Jansen has the advantage, and he intends to use this by throwing a high fastball up and out of the zone. However, he makes a mistake and leaves it out and over the plate a little too much.
Jansen.
Now let's look at what I thought was the best part of this video, and that's the base running. So remember, there's 2 outs and 2 strikes. The infield's playing a shift, and the first baseman is not holding the runner on first, which allows him to get a little more of a lead over there. However, the key thing is the 2 strikes, because that allows both base runners, coupled with the 2 outs, to basically run on the swing. They don't have to read the ball off of the bat at all. They're breaking on contact. And as you can see, both base runners get excellent jumps, and there's no hesitation in trying to read whether or not this ball is going to drop for a hit or be caught for the 3rd out. Now pay attention to the runner on first base and what I think is the best part of this play, because he never hesitates or tries to look over his shoulder and find the baseball. Off of the bat, on a base hit to the outfield and you're on first base, your primary goal is to get to third base. However, as soon as he gets to second base, since this ball's behind him in right field, he picks up his third base coach, and since the third base coach never puts up the stop sign, he never slows down or hesitates at all. A common mistake, especially at the youth level, is for these base runners to try to look back and see the play themselves, since you should be taught at a very young age that the number 1 rule in base running is to find the baseball. And that's a good rule. However, you can't ever look behind you to find the baseball. That's when you use your base coaches. And this is an excellent example of running hard until you're told not to. And then mistakes were made, and he trips and falls. Once he recovers, he now needs to go back to what I had just said was the first rule of base running, which is to find the baseball. A lot of players in this situation will just get up and attempt, without ever knowing where the baseball is, to get back to third base. But notice how his eyes stay focused on the baseball. And in doing so, he's easily able to score. It's worth another look. For you coaches out there, notice how far down the line the third base coach is. This is so he can wait as long as possible on being able to stop that runner. At the youth level, you're oftentimes able to see whether or not the outfielders made a good throw and decide what to do with your base runner accordingly.
Smith has no idea at this point. Unbelievable.
And now the bad and ugly, as we take a look at where it all went wrong for the defense. I think the biggest mistake the defense made was feeling the pressure and thus speeding the game up or trying to do things too quickly. For example, you can see the center fielders start looking at the base runners before he's fielded the baseball. This is a pointless mistake because with 2 outs and 2 strikes and a soft line drive base hit, there's nothing that he can do to throw the guy that's on second base out at the plate. Same with throwing the runner on first base out at third. You can see the middle infielders understand this since they line up for a cutoff to second base. The game is going to be tied. There's nothing he can do about that, so there's no need to panic or rush the play. Just get the ball back into the infield and play for 1 more out and extra innings. Then, like they often do, the mistakes seem to snowball. Although I've heard some people say that the first baseman should not have cut this ball, I disagree since it was clearly offline, which makes it an automatic cut for the relay guy. I don't believe the catcher called it because the catcher can be seen leaving home plate to go field the baseball. However, the first baseman, in my opinion, made the correct call to relay this. However, he rushes his throw as well, which leads it to throwing to where the catcher was right as the catcher tries to slide back over to cover the plate. You also see the pitcher standing in the middle of the field, just basically in the way, as opposed to running over in between home and third and then backing up wherever the throw goes and actually being useful. It wouldn't have mattered in this situation, however, he is clearly not where he's supposed to be. The catcher rushes as well, and that's mostly because this is an extremely difficult play for the catcher whenever there's a play at the plate and the throw's coming from right field. Because of the angles involved, he's unable to see the baseball and the runner at the same time, even with his peripheral vision. He has to completely turn his head to look at one and then turn it back to look at the other. So you can understand why, in his mind, he still thinks there's a play at the plate and must catch and swipe to try to get this game-winning run out, when in fact, there's no one there. Hopefully this helped clarify a confusing ending to Game 4 last night. If this is something you'd like to see more of, please let me know in the comments below. See you next time.